named in Argentina's squad. Lionel Scaloni naming his side, and of course Messi's in it. Also, a major update: water is still wet, and the sun still rises in the east and sets in the west.
And Argentina will not win a trophy with Messi on the squad.
I mean, come on. The news is if Messi wasn't in the squad. The fact that he is in the squad is basically just an afterthought. So moving on, let's talk about what happened in the Champions League. VAR, one of the big controversies throughout both games yesterday. But first, let's talk about what happened with PSG and Manchester United.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm wearing this for a reason. All right? Glory, glory, Man United.
This guy.
Okay, no Pogba, no Matic, no Mata, no Alexis, no Lingard, no Martial, and they still managed to score 3 goals and beat PSG 3-1 to go through. George, before we get to some comments, because I'm sure there's going to be a few, let's get your thoughts on this, George. How surprised were you to see PSG go out like this?
I was surprised, very surprised, because they had the 2-0 advantage after the first leg, and they were missing all those players like you just mentioned. So I thought they'd get a 1-1 at home and advance. But the way they just completely collapsed, and then the confidence that Manchester United played without all those players that they had, you have to give credit to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the way he put out that team and the mentality he put on them. And he probably said, look, if Barcelona could come back on PSG when they were up 4-1 or 5-1 after the first leg, we can do it with a 2-0 advantage going on the road. And I know the people are going to say the VAR with the penalty. Yeah, fine. I didn't think it was a penalty. But the fact that PSG was in a position where that could be the difference, that is the bigger story. It's not about the VAR. It's the fact that they played so poorly that Manchester United had that opportunity to pounce on them, and they took advantage of it. Rashford, that penalty kick he took was brilliant. It was a great, well-struck penalty kick, by the way.
No team in the history of the Champions League has overturned a 2-0 deficit at home and able to come back in the second leg. Unbelievable for Manchester United. You talk about PSG, and just this is not something new for PSG. And the papers in France are absolutely hammering PSG for the performance and for basically what happened. No doubt that they outplayed Manchester United. They outplayed Manchester United. Just look at the stats. But a good team is going to capitalize on the mistakes, and still missing all of those players. I still can't believe that Manchester United were able to overturn that deficit. And, I mean, if you're Manchester United, George, if you're an executive on the board of Manchester United, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer walks into the office today, are you handing him that contract and just saying, just sign it, bro?
You know what? You would think so. But I think one more... if they get to the semifinals... If they get to the semifinals, they're not giving it to him.
George, the average bump for a new manager coming in, this is statistics. Ray is going to be screaming at me for this, but based on the statistics, when a new manager comes in, you typically experience an 8-game bump, which means that over the course of the next 8 games, your results are going to be higher than the average of the 8 games before.
Right.
They have 17 games under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They've had 14 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss.
Right.
Now, when you get that 8-game bump and things start to settle, okay, then, things are starting to settle, and now the coach can take... But when you have a 17-game bump, double what the expected stats are, you've got to hand that guy a contract,
But the thing is, you don't want to be prisoner of the moment after such a big win against PSG. You still have some important games in the Premier League. You're still trying to chase... Well, they're probably... I think they're going to finish in top 4 and qualify for next season's Champions League group stage. They still have a shot at the title. They still have a shot at the title with City and Liverpool kind of slipping up a little bit. I say if they get to semifinals of the Champions League, then you give the man a 3-year contract. I think quarterfinals against a squad PSG that is... I mean, let's be honest, squad, no Neymar, no Cavani, and they have a history of kind of choking a little bit.
So you're a morning drinker is what you're saying,
just only if it's sweet tea.
Come on, man. Yeah. Give him the job. Okay, let's look at some of the comments here. Ray, they didn't have 10 starters. They deserve it. Anyone who says they don't is just a hater. Man United came to win, and that's exactly what they did. Brendan Burns says, I know you're a Man United fan. The apostrophe R, you don't forget.
Right. You are.
That's just from a writer. But how do you call that a handball? How did the ref think that was deliberate? Manchester VAR-nighted.
This is what bothers me about this VAR talk, is that's not why PSG was eliminated. Okay, y'all got to get that through your thick heads. They were eliminated because United played better and took advantage of their chances over the 90 minutes, not because of the VAR. I said it just a few seconds ago. I didn't think that was a handball. But the fact that PSG put themselves in a situation where that could determine the game is not something that should go against Manchester United. Manchester United went out there and were more aggressive. They took their chances. They won the game. VAR did not have anything to do with it, in my opinion. It was a bad decision, but in the end, PSG played bad. That's what contributed to their elimination.
VAR is not there for everybody to agree with.
Exactly.
VAR is there to get the call right on the field, and that's what it's there for. That's what it's there for. PSG created history by blowing another lead. Imagine Neymar leaving Barcelona for PS, as in $G. Gotta love the shirt. PSG 64% possession. They blew it. Yes, Manchester United getting on the mistakes. Both Real and PSG did not want to face Barca. That's actually that's not a bad comment.
Point, yeah.
And Salo here, VAR was not the issue. PSG don't have a time mentality. PSG has a team mentality, is what he's trying to say. PSG has an individual player mentality. And
Thank you, Saulo.
That's one of the things that I was going to say is what is the next step for PSG? Here's what I would do if I'm PSG. If I'm the owners of PSG, here's what I do. I would go out and I would hire the best sports psychologist on planet Earth. Because it's not the players, it's the mentality. They are mentally fragile. They don't play as a team. They do play as individuals. And that's why they got beat by Manchester United. Because Manchester United are playing for each other. They have the team mentality. A team will always beat a group of superstars 9 times out of 10.
Absolutely. And one thing PSG and Manchester City are learning, you cannot buy a Champions League. These teams that are winning it are historical teams that have a tradition of deep runs in the Champions League year after year after year for decades. PSG and City for maybe the last 8 or 9 years. You can't buy a Champions League. You gotta be patient with it.
And I'm telling you, like 9 minutes of stoppage time in that game.
Oh,
come on, that's Sir Alex time
crazy.
there. Okay, Gino's given us the board here to move on to Porto and Roma. VAR decision deciding that game in favor of FC Porto.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of people that don't agree with what happened with VAR in that game, but I mean, 2 correct decisions for VAR, in my opinion. 2 correct decisions by VAR. It was a pull on Florenzi, on Fernando. I think it was a clear penalty.
Yeah, and then De Rossi scored the penalty there, and then Alex Telles scored the third penalty there, or the third goal for Porto in extra time. Once again, VAR gets it right, and the people who lose are upset about it. That's basically what it is. And credit to Porto. Remember, they were disappointing in that first leg in Rome, and they had to turn around. What was it, 2-1? I believe they were down in Rome after the first leg, and they came back and won it in the second leg, and they did what they had to do. So congratulations to them. VAR got it right. It was equal on both sides. So anybody who's has some kind of controversy or beef with VAR, especially after this tie, there's something wrong with y'all. There's something wrong with you. This was a perfect example of how to use VAR, and both teams benefited from it.
Just getting back to PSG, Neymar should have just stayed at Barca. He would have taken over what Messi has at Barca, like 3-4 more years. Hey, you know what? You got to make your paper when you're at your peak.
Exactly.
Not saying that Neymar's at his peak, but I mean, he's in a position now where he certainly can, he wants to capitalize on that and not be in the shadow of a player
be your own man.
Like Messi.
Alpha male. That's right.
So moving towards, what happens with these teams now. We've talked about what PSG needs to do, from a sports psychology standpoint. Do you agree with that? Do you think that there is a psychological fragility to PSG? Oh, hang on. Let me ask you this, and I'll ask this for you guys too, okay? And respond in the comments. Is the loss to Manchester United worse than what happened versus Barcelona?
Ooh, I think the Barca's worse because PSG, they had Cavani in that lineup. I think Neymar was Neymar on? Yeah, Neymar was part of that as well, or he might have been injured. But at least they had Cavani and Mbappe. Mm-hmm. This one, it was just Mbappe. And for a kid his age, that might be a little bit too much to put on his shoulders to lead the team past Manchester United. And plus, the deficit was bigger. And, or at least the advantage that PSG had was bigger. 4 goals compared to what United had, which was just 2.
But let me counter that by saying that PSG lost 6-1 at Barcelona.
Yeah.
Here they lose 3-1 at home.
Yeah.
Which I think, for me, in my opinion, makes this loss worse. And especially considering the players that there's always a sense that Barcelona could come back. But I mean, a lot of people were saying that there was no way that Manchester United was going to come back in this tie, and then they end up managing to do so.
I think the Barca one is worse because it's the one that starts it. That's the problem right there. That's the one.
George, I like your Toussaint.
Toussaint Louverture.
Yeah.
The father of the Haitian Revolution.
Yeah.
So,
happy for Iker. Buffon's last Champions League game could be PSG had Zlatan and still couldn't get it done. There we go.
I got thoughts on Zlatan, but let's save that for another time.
The ref should have checked the last play in the Porto game. Says Yaisun. And hi guys, George, at least our Juve prediction is still alive for now.
What's up, Gabby?
Yes,
it is still alive.
She's on the beach somewhere, I would think.
Yes.
Hi, Gabs.
What's up?
Let's talk about what happened with Real Madrid.
Oh, boy.
Des Norris had a great tweet saying that Real Madrid, we had the most embarrassing exit in the Champions League. PSG, hold my beer. And off we go.
I like that.
But let's talk about what happened with Real Madrid. Florentino Perez apparently waiting for the players after they get knocked out, and he basically told them they were a disgrace and that this is all he didn't like their attitude, he didn't like the way that they came out and played, he didn't like the fact that they were all individualistic. And Sergio Ramos stood up and was like, dude, this is on you, bro. You're the one that got us in this situation. You did not plan for life without Cristiano Ronaldo. So this is on you. Now, look, pay me my money, and I'm out.
Well, first of all, why is Sergio Ramos even talking? He should shut up. He didn't even play. Sergio Ramos did not play.
He's the captain.
He's the captain, but if he's the captain, he needs to be on the field. He needs
he had to get a purposeful yellow card so that he could film a documentary in the second leg.
That's more important than winning the Champions League for Sergio Ramos. So he needs to just be quiet. You know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous on his part. For him to answer back, he should be the one that should be the most quiet and not say a word. Florentino Perez does kind of have a point in terms of the attitude. And even though Ramos should have kept quiet, Ramos has a point too, because you can't sell Ronaldo, you can't allow Zidane to leave and expect the same thing. You can't expect these high expectations to win the Champions League when you have a squad full of holes, and then the money you did get from Ronaldo, you bought a another goalkeeper when you didn't need one. So that Florentino Perez had a point in terms of the attitude, and Ramos, even though he should have shut up, he kind of has a point too when it comes to that too.
Do you think he gets rid of Ramos?
He should. I would sell him.
Really?
In the summer, I'd sell. If I was Real Madrid, you got to go youth movement, bring in some spark type players, but Bale has to go, Marcelo has to go, Isco has to go, Ramos has to go. At least
Georgie.
4. Yeah.
Wow. Total revamp.
Yeah, maybe even Cruz as well.
What about Santiago Solari?
Yeah, he might have to go too. Yeah, he might have to go too.
He might have to go.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, just some of the comments. Clayton says, speak for yourself, Jeremy. Some of us picked United winning yesterday and going through.
Ooh,
okay, Clayton. So. I mean, even a busted clock's right twice a day.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Ramos is now ready for the quarterfinal. Nice.
He's got plenty of time to watch him.
PSG sure missed Rabiot yesterday. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And since being a Madrid fan, Perez messed up big time. No player can fill up the spot of Cristiano Ronaldo. Suresh saying that's certainly a decent comment there. And being told to move on here. Okay, let's talk about this LeBron James thing from last night.
Oh, boy.
So LeBron passes Michael Jordan for 4th all-time on the points list, but the Lakers are still an absolute disaster. 14.5 games back of Golden State in the West. They're 6.5 games back of a playoff spot. They lose to the second-place Nuggets by 16 points.
Yeah, surprising Nuggets, by the way, this year. Denver's pretty surprising. Nobody expected them to be number 2 in the West.
So now it spurned the debate. Is LeBron greater than MJ?
Oh, good.
Are we? Hang on. Are we too nostalgic when it comes to Jordan?
We might be.
Because nostalgia brings,
Yeah, and then the whole Air Jordan thing in the commercials, and then Space Jam, and be like Mike with they're remaking Space Jam. I want to see that.
With LeBron.
Yeah, with LeBron. Yeah. Look, LeBron passes him on the scoring charts, but he also has more career rebounds and assists than Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan is a killer when it comes to playoffs and what was when he was playing.
Yeah.
He was a killer. 6-0 in NBA Finals. His squads have never gone past Game 6. He's never played in a Game 7 in the NBA Finals. So LeBron. I think when you look at physically, yes, LeBron is more imposing than Michael Jordan. But if you talk about basketball, I still think Michael Jordan's better than him. Honestly, to tell you the truth, this is going to sound really bad. I think the greatest basketball player of all time is Magic Johnson. That's me.
Okay.
So if maybe on the scoring chart he passed Michael, but I still think Michael is better than him. Better competitor for sure. Mental.
Obviously, what's happening with the Lakers? They've been an absolute disaster.
Yeah. It's LeBron's fault though.
Yeah. Well, should LeBron have stayed in Miami?
Yeah, because as a Heat fan, we would have had a couple more championships.
Oh, you think so?
And then
You
Dwayne
think so,
Dwayne Wade wouldn't have
Okay.
left, and it would have been
Okay.
great. He should have stayed in Miami.
Okay.
I have theories on why he didn't want to stay in Miami, but that's a different topic. But look, he had it pretty good in Miami. He had his boys, Bosch and Wade, and then he had a very good coach in Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
And Pat Riley's someone who will always work to get the team championship. So he would have, tweaked the roster and everything. He should have stayed in Miami. And there's talk that if he passes Kobe, the reception of the Laker fans is not going to be too kind either. So we'll see what happens there.
A lot of people agree that that LeBron's not better than Jordan.
Yeah.
Kobe is better than LeBron, though, says Jay
Kobe?
Ben.
I don't
Why
know
are we
about
still
those.
having this debate? MJ in a class all by himself. Michael Jordan greater than LeBron James, says Johnny. And yes, I'm biased because go Bulls.
Yeah, the Bulls.
Go
Who've
Bulls.
been garbage since he left. Well, they had one season with Derrick Rose as MVP, but yeah.
MJ the GOAT, is what Leo says. So.
But the Lakers' problems, it's LeBron wanted to trade everybody so that he could get Anthony Davis.
Yep.
And then he wants to run the team and run the roster, and the Lakers are suffering right now, and he's 34 years old. I mean...
If we had a reverse camera right now, you could see Gino with a sign on his head.
Yeah.
Telling us to promote the Copa Libertadores coming up tonight. The opening round of the group stage continues tonight on beIN Sports. 3 games remaining. 13 have already been played. And because I love numbers, #nerd, here's some of the stuff that I've crunched already. If you haven't watched the Copa Lib, this is what you've missed, okay? The road teams have won the road teams have won 5 of the 13 games in the opening round, but they have at least a point in 10 of the 13 games. Road teams have outscored the home teams 13-12, but 9 of the home team goals have come in 2 of those games. The home teams have been blanked in 8 of the 13 games so far.
Ooh,
and
man.
there's 3 games coming up tonight here on beIN Sports starting at 4:50 p.m. Eastern Time. Huracan versus Cruzeiro. Liga de Quito versus Peñarols at 6:55 p.m. Eastern Time. And Deportivo Lara versus Emelec at 8:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Are you on those games today?
I'm doing the Huracan Cruzeiro with Phil Shane, and I have
Nice.
the Deportivo Lara Emelec with Phil Shane as well. I'm doing the color commentary on that one, yeah.
Last night, the defending Copa champions, River, managed to get a draw with Lara.
Alianza Lima, yeah, that was a bit of, they needed a goal in, I think a penalty in like the 90, no, it was
Alianza Lima.
Yeah. They got a goal in the 96th minute in order to get a draw. But you talk about those numbers, there was a game between Universidad de Concepcion and Sporting Cristal. It was 1-0 at halftime. It finished 4-4.
Wow.
That's how exciting Libertadores can be.
All right, guys, great comments today. Thanks for your participation. Love all the stuff about MJ. We're going to read this as we go out. Want to say happy Thursday to you. We're back here for more Sports Burst on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for being with us.